Hey everyone, welcome back to Empowered and Out, the podcast where we focus on building careers that actually feel aligned, confident, and sustainable. I'm your host, Jonathan. Most people call me John, aka Coach John, career coach and advocate for showing up fully at work. And this season, we're talking about visibility and authenticity. What it really takes to unmask your identity and lead without leaving parts of yourself behind. And this year, we're doing things differently. We're elevating, we're expanding, we're prospering together through real conversations and coaching centered insights. My goal is to help you reconnect with your confidence, trust yourself more, and start making career choices that support not just your success, but your well being too. And if you're listening and thinking, okay, I'm ready for support with this, you can book a free 30-minute discovery call with me, and the link will be in the show notes. So take a breath, settle in, and let's get into today's conversation. So today's guest is Phillip Hargrove, an instructor of mechanical and aerospace engineering at University of Central Florida, who spent the first 8 years of his career at NASA's Kennedy Space Center as a launch trajectory analyst, public outreach specialist, and mission integration engineer, before making a bold pivot into full-time education in 2025. Phillip is also someone who's deeply thoughtful about authenticity, not as a slogan, but as a lived choice. He's navigated the pressure to fit in different rooms, wrestled with what it costs to hide, and learned what it takes to return to himself again and again as a Black gay man building a career, community, and sense of ease in a world that doesn't always make that simple. And just to keep it real, outside of work, Phillip is living. He's playing recreational sports, singing karaoke with friends, taking care of his plants and his cat, and learning acoustic guitar, which feels like the perfect energy for today's conversation. So Phillip, welcome to Empowered and Out.
Thank you so much. I don't know if I should call you Jonathan or Coach John, but thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So before we jump in, I've been doing this with all my guests this season. I do what I call an energy check-in. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how is your energy today and what's contributing to that?
What a day to ask that question. Scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like the highest energy. I'm super excited about everything. It feels super energetic. I'm probably at like a 6.5. It's been a very busy couple of weeks because of my job, and it's the mix of work being super busy because we just like have all the students doing presentations right now. So there's an additional workload above what I normally have. And 2 of those recreational sports, the kickball seasons just ended last week. So like one of them was like a playoff run. My team won the championship, which was great. I was captaining and all that. So that was like a lot. My other team, we didn't do so well, but we were still in the playoffs. So I've just been doing a lot lately, and I've had very few like full rest days to like really recharge. So yeah, it's Friday now, and I'm very happy about that. But yeah, it was a very full day today. So it's also, I live in Florida, and it's now officially hot again, I think. So that's like, it's humid. I felt it was humid today for the first time in a couple of months. So it's reminding me that that's reality. So yeah.
I get it. I understand because, as you and I were discussing prior to just recording, would say my level is probably at a 7, only because I'm trying to get over this annoying cough and cold that won't seem to go away. At least I know that is all it is. It's not, I just had a friend of mine tell me that she was recovering from having COVID for 3 weeks. And so I'll take a cough and a cold any day over COVID. And then on top of that, today, it's snowy, it's windy, it's cold. And the funny thing is we need the moisture, so I'm totally fine with it. And we're in the 30s today. It will be back into the 50s tomorrow and then up to close to 70 by Monday. So this beautiful snow that we're getting will be gone, but we'll take the water part of it. But yeah, so I get it. We have a lot, we have a lot going on. And obviously I could remember when I recorded my last episode, like my guests, and it was yesterday, which is really funny, but that's just the life of being busy, mixing with coaching and podcasting and all the fun in between. So, all right. So, when you hear the word, oh, and I guess I should mention kind of a fun connection. You found me through someone I had actually already interviewed last season, and a great interview. Honestly, Francisco was awesome. I encourage anyone to go and listen to that or watch that episode because it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. But it's really funny to get these small connections that
Yeah.
I've had other people reach out. And I was like, all right, cool. Or people really relating, like other people have as well. A lot of people have related to what I've shared in previous episodes or some of the guests have shared. And then they now want to come on. They're like, oh, wow, I would like, I need to talk about this, or I'd like to talk about this. Now, I don't bring everyone on because I want to make sure that it fits for what my audience wants and what my audience has been listening to and what they're going to continue. And I've been pretty fortunate. I've only had to tell a few people no, but it's very humbling to keep getting more and more people. And like I mentioned to you as well before we started recording, like I have so many international people that are hitting me up that I've had to kind of tweak my schedule so I get that rest before
Right.
I start recording, because chatting with someone who's like 6, 7, 8, 9 hours ahead can make that a little challenging on my end of it, depending on the timing of when I want to really record. And I need to have a life a little bit outside of recording. So, all right. Well, so I'm very thankful that we got to connect and that we're now here. So
Absolutely.
awesome.
Same here.
All right. So when you hear the word authenticity, what does it actually mean to you? Not theoretically, but in real life.
Yeah, I think it means honesty in real life. Like there's things that are happening in your mind, in your body, in the real world, and it's so easy to mask. It's so easy to tell less than the full truth, to operate in a way that's less than like fully real. And maybe there's conversation to be had about what really is real, but yeah, it's like you know what's authentic, you know what you're really bringing into a room, like you know what your energy really is in a given moment. And it's like, okay, what do I do with that? So yeah, being true to yourself, communicating with people in a way that's truthful. Yeah, I think that's what that means to me.
So what do you feel is the difference though between authenticity and just sharing everything? Because I know I've had some conversations with, obviously I want, especially everyone in general, not just people in the LGBTQ plus community, but I want everyone to be able to be authentic in the workplace, in life, everywhere. But
Mhm.
I feel that sometimes there has to be a definition of that sharing everything. So,
Right.
what do you feel is the difference between authenticity and just sharing everything?
Maybe just the recognition that there are other factors beyond your own individual truth and like what connects the most with you. Because there's a way that I would like to dress, there's a way that I'd like to talk, that's like most comfortable for me, but it's not always appropriate depending on the time and the place. Perfect
Mhm.
example of that is like today I was thinking about it. I'm renegotiating if I'm going to give myself permission to wear shorts at work, and I'm probably not, because I just, as much as I hate it, yeah, I'm a professor now, so like I should probably wear pants. And I mean, I don't want to like get into like all the like gendered and like all these like structural things, but yeah, that's just kind of a reality. Like, there's students and then there's me, and there is a truth to just like, professional relationships and standards and stuff like that. So yeah, I think just a recognition that there's like your own truth and then there's other people's like realities too. So it's not always appropriate to just do everything your way, because sometimes other people's ways like that should also be considered. So yeah, maybe it's just the sort of community aspect of it, the fact that it's not all about you, perhaps.
Well, and I think you're in an interesting perspective because you're a professor. So, you probably do see, because I do feel that students can dress very uniquely and
Right.
very, how they want. I don't know. For me, I always thought, okay, what's the classroom going to be like? Is it going to be hot? Is it going to be cold? Is it, that really, in my opinion, is really how I dressed a lot of times when I was in college. I definitely saw some very interesting attire, but I would bet you probably see some of that authenticity though in people and your students, just because they are at an age that they, a lot of the time, that is the age where people are really truly coming into themselves because they've gotten away from parents, so they're able to be kind of a little bit more themselves. And I mean, I will admit 100%, I came out, I was I would say I came out a little bit more or was more comfortable in my skin in college than I had been in high school. And then by the time, of course, after college, I was definitely getting a little bit more. But I feel that I was able to explore more in college because what I wanted to wear, what I didn't want to wear, who I wanted to surround myself with, how I wanted to be perceived, as who I am. So,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see.
So
Yeah, like just being on a college campus and seeing people that are in their 20. I mean, I've got plenty of non-traditional students who are, my age or older, but yeah, people expressing themselves, exploring different ways of doing that. So it's an awesome environment to be in for sure.
So you named a pattern I think a lot of people will recognize, and that's the temptation to change yourself to fit the environment, then the choice to return to yourself. When did you first notice that pattern?
The pattern of the temptation to like do both of like to
Yeah.
yeah to sort of change and then to come back probably. Yeah, it's like a long story, or it spans a lot of time. But the first thing that came to mind was just when I first moved to Florida. I had been here for about a month, so this was 9 years ago, and I decided for the first time in I think 9 years at that point to tell people that I wanted to go by Philip rather than Phil. So like growing up until like the third year of high school, I went by Philip, and then that was around the time when I this is how I tell the story. Like that's when I started feeling like I cared what other people thought. So I wanted to be cool, I guess. Like I wanted to fit in more. And yeah, like Philip is a name that people pretty quickly and readily just decide to call you Phil. And I was like, oh, sure, you can call me Phil. So then I was Phil for like 9 years. And then when I moved here, I was like, you know what? I don't want that anymore. Like I was signing it in my emails. I think that was what really did it, like seeing it written professionally. I was like, that just doesn't feel like me. And even now, as I say it, like I don't know who that person is. Like I don't know who Phil is. Like there's like zero connection in my language between that name and like who I am now. So yeah, I had to kind of reverse and tell everybody, you know what? I know when we first met last month, I said you can call me Phil, but I actually prefer Philip. And that's absolutely been like a continuous journey because I have to keep on deciding that it matters to me what people call me. And I have to
Hmm.
continue. I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, actually, because again, people would like make that assumption. So that's just one example. And then I started my process of like coming out of the closet like a year or so after that. So it's like maybe that was a little part of me that was just starting to try to claw its way out of whatever pit I had put it in. But yeah, that was a pretty big one. It's like how does the world see me?
Well, and it's funny that obviously everybody, like the way I started this podcast, I say, I'm Jonathan, but you can call me John, or, Coach John or John, because when I was younger, if I was called Jonathan, I was in trouble. My parents didn't even call me Jonathan until like I was then now, and then that it was my first, middle, last name. Like it wasn't a just
Well,
the first name, Jonathan. It was the whole everything. And then I just realized that, and I was going by John. Some people called me my initials, JB. Some people called me just the last name. And then I just kind of, when I started getting into coaching, then I changed it. But, and then of course, now I've switched it back because I have a friend who goes by Coach Jane, and I don't know, Coach John kind of just fits. And
mhm,
so I was like, all right, and who knows, I might change it back to just being, to me, Coach John sounds a lot easier to say
mhm.
than Jonathan. And um, I mean, however people call me, Jonathan, I'm going to answer at this point in my life, being 52. If you call me Jonathan, I know I'm not in trouble like I was when I was younger. But I get it. I mean, you want to be, what you want to be called, and how people are going to approach you that makes you feel comfortable. And being called Philip is going to, what feels better to you.
Right.
And it is funny because to see people who have changed their names, and then people who are very specific, like you said, oh, people just kind of just gradually, oh yeah, Phil.
Mhm,
Where sometimes if I've said Jonathan and they're like, but I go by John, my thing is, and our listeners can't, well, they obviously can't see it, and even the viewers won't see it, but like it is Jon. I'm not a John.
yeah.
And I
Uh-huh.
really I get a little annoyed by that because it's like, where's there an H in Jonathan? There's not an H in Jonathan until the end. like the J, it's JONATHAN. I said, so please don't add the H in.
Right.
But that's just my little nitpickiness. Maybe that's why I just started going by John. So
Uh,
like I got so tired of so many years people misspelling
yeah.
the Jonathan. And I've even seen people spell my name Jonathan with an H. And I was like, on the
Mm.
John part. I'm like,
Oh,
why? Why?
H. Yeah.
Why? Anyway, so let's get back to our chat, our conversation. So, okay, so with the change, obviously, changing your name is pretty simple. But what do you feel? What does shape shifting look like for you? Like language, tone, energy, appearance, even boundaries.
The shape shifting aspect of it, it's interesting, and I'm so grateful because I'm actually having to kind of dig back because I feel like it's been so long since that was the default mode. So it's like, yeah, like how do I mask? How did I mask? But at the same time, I did just start a new job like 7 months ago, like a whole new career. So I think I was a lot more aware in a lot of moments when I was like choosing not to shape shift. So maybe that's like what is helpful to talk about. So yeah, I mean, the way that I dress, I like, there's a lot of things that I am just committed to doing for myself for the sake of like comfort and like the longevity of my body. Like I've had some foot issues. So like there's particular shoes that I'm willing to wear and ones that I'm not willing to wear. And it's like, you're not going to see me in the like the leather sort of professional shoes because, with the narrow end, because it's causing some problems. I'm going to wear, these particular shoes. But then on the aesthetic end, I just like color. Like it makes me happy. So like I was wearing like red pants and then these like red sort of raspberry colored shoes today with my green shirt. That's
Nice.
I think it worked. The shoes are new, so I'm still like figuring out what outfits they're gonna work with. But I was like, yeah, this is fun. Because yeah, I like the color. It made me happy. So that's one thing. The way that I manage my own energy and space is a really big one because like I mean, I think back to when I was in school, like when I was like in elementary school or whatever. And like I was very like fidgety and stuff in class. And like it was like hard for me to like stay still and stay quiet and stuff. And that kind of translates to me as an adult. In my old job, there was a lot of like day long meetings when we're just like listening to different people present. And I would kind of it would be so hard for me to do that. And then at some point, I realized like, okay, the way for me to stay engaged in this meeting is to just go and stand in the back of the room. Like, take a stretch if you need, like, go drink some water, bring a snack, like do what you need to do in order to stay here, even if other people don't necessarily need that. So yeah, like doing that in a new work environment is always risky because I'm like, are people going to think I'm weird for like standing in the back of the room right now? But I'm going to choose to not really care about that because like the other option is just for me to kind of check out of this meeting. Cause if I don't do that, I'm going to pull out my phone and start scrolling, or I'm going to just kind of like depart from my body. So yeah, just making those kind of choices to do what's right for me is what I think I was not doing when I was shapeshifting. Cause it was just like, you got to be in line. You got to do what everybody else is doing. They're all sitting down. So like you can sit down too, and obviously there's like a place for some of that, but it's like when you have the flexibility, I think it's important to use it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So you came out a couple of years ago into your first long-term job after grad school around age 27. So what shifted in you that made you feel ready?
You said ready to come out or ready to,
Yeah,
was it? Sure, sure. Yeah. Okay.
ready to come out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was already kind of taking some steps towards just figuring out what was right for me. I had already moved out of some spaces that were just not very helpful for me. Interestingly enough, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but the thing that actually got me comfortable enough to come out to myself was Bible study. Like I feel like nobody would expect me to say that, but my like I didn't even really know it, but my Christian faith that I grew up in was definitely a big part of me, like not thinking that my attraction to men was like appropriate or like that was the right thing. And then I ended up joining this Bible study with a really close friend of mine, like, and it was like going to the bare bones, like understanding like the Hebrew, like the original text, like where everything came from. So it's
Oh,
like truly understanding the different parts of the Bible, like the Christian Bible. And I was like, oh, God is not telling me to not like men. Like what? I remember that moment very clearly, which was really nice. But I was still going to a church at the time that did not feel that way. So it took some time, but then I was like, yeah, I gotta get out of that space. So I had done that. I had started dating someone. So I had my first boyfriend. And at work, there was like a social event. It was like an annual gala kind of thing. And I was able to bring a plus one. And it was like, well, I'm gonna bring him. So I guess I kind of have to do this. So it was just like this is gonna happen. And thankfully I was in a space where like my supervisor, I've told him, I've told the story, I've told him how impactful it was for me that like I just knew I could trust him to like have that conversation. Like I was like, hey, like I'm gonna like come out to the whole program at this event. I was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna bring my boyfriend because I was nervous about it. I needed to talk with somebody about it in order to feel comfortable enough to do that. And yeah, he was super like encouraging and stuff. And yeah, so I was in a
Nice.
very like healthy space, which was really good. So yeah, I think just kind of the necessity, the things that were happening. I was like, well, I guess this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, it's funny because I, excuse me, I've heard numerous times the story of when my partner came out at work and his best friend, who he's been friends with for almost 20 years, and they worked together for many years. He had approached her and one of their other friends, and of course they laughed about it. But part of the reason he was kind of doing the same thing is that he was dating someone and he wanted to bring them to like the holiday party, and
Yeah.
so he needed to kind of say, hey, by the way. And of course they of course laughed because they're like, oh, we definitely already knew, there's nothing you're hiding, but thanks. And of course he tries like, I was not that obvious. And then, of course I never met the other person, but his best friend, she's like, it was so obvious, dude. She's like, no, there was no hiding. And I'm
Well,
like, that's awesome. But I was unfortunately the same way though. I thought I was when my when I told my best friend, she even told me, she goes, oh, I've known for years. She goes, I
hmm,
just wanted you to be comfortable when you were ready. And because she had had many, because we always had great long conversations growing, together hanging out. And she had other friends who had consoled her and had come out. And so she had already seen multiple friends coming out to her. So when she knew when I was ready, it was going to be fine.
man, good.
Which, by the way, I thought I was gonna like pull out my hair. I was so nervous. Like it was the most crazy thing one of the most crazy experiences I ever had. Yeah. So before, let's see, where am I? Before you came out, what were you most afraid of would happen though? Socially, professionally, even internally?
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I've gone back and like really gotten down to what those fears were because on the surface, like I didn't think like I was never around a bunch of like super loud, like blatant homophobia. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it's even more like sinister because it was so like subtle and it was just like, oh, well, of course you're not. Like, of course you're gonna like marry a woman. Like, of course that's what your journey is, that's kind of what my internal experience was like. So yikes. So I guess that means that it was, especially because in the time prior to coming out, like in those last couple of years, I had gotten very like deep into the Christian tradition was always a part of my life. And I loved like gospel music and like I was in the choirs and stuff. So like that part of it was super fun for me and like super good for me and very like natural. But I think maybe with that, the religious homophobia is probably what was setting in where it was like, oh, I gotta fix this. Now that I really think about it, that was really it. It was like, oh, the church is telling me that this is like my cross to bear or whatever language they use in terms of like saying that this is something that like you got to change about yourself. So I think that was really where my mindset was until I was like, oh, actually, I don't think that's what the book says, or like, I don't think that's what I'm actually being called to do.
And it's funny, I can 100% relate because I was pretty heavy into going to church, Bible study, all of that. I mean, I went to a Christian sports camp and then I even went to a Christian university. So, yeah, I mean, there was definitely, for me, even, like, I felt the same way. Then until kind of like you and you're like, I got to a point that I was just tired of hiding. I was tired of masking for me personally. And I wasn't really going to church anymore. I'd found a church with some friends that was more kind of a more non-denominational. And so that made me feel a little bit more comfortable than being, in the walls of the church that had been going to my entire life, pretty much. And then actually, I've learned more and more over the years now, even to this point, because you don't, I mean, I might have had to have taken religion classes at the university I was at, but let me tell you, they're not going to go into the real deep, real meaning of what the Bible really is saying, because there's so much hypocrisy of what your everyday Christian is saying about being gay or being a part of the community and being,
Right.
a Christian. So it's learned from someone who has become quite well known, but he has written numerous books. He's been on numerous major news shows talking about Christianity and being gay and the fact that maybe you really need to learn more about what the Bible really says. And he went to seminary, so he studied. He actually is a minister, so he knows exactly the day in and day out of of what was said in the Bible. Like going, like you said in your Bible study, going all the way to all the way back to like the Hebrew version. Like, when you really know what a lot of these words really meant, if you go back to the original language, it doesn't mean what some people are really translating it. And so, yeah, I 100% I can understand that. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because I was very hesitant, because being so engulfed in the church and this camp that I'd gone to and a Christian university, for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot of pressure. Even my mom, when I did come out, she actually asked me, well, what's on the owner of the camp? I was good friends with the family, and one of the oldest daughter was like always in sister cabins with me when we were campers. And she's like, what is he gonna think? And I was like, I don't really care what he thinks. It has
Right.
nothing to do with what he thinks. It's what I think and how I feel. And at the end of the day, and I mentioned this I feel like a few episodes ago or so, I don't even remember, but I've mentioned it numerous times throughout this podcast, is that if you really look at it, guess who Jesus would be hanging out with? He's going to
Mhm.
be hanging out with the queer community. I hate to tell you, he's
Yeah.
not going to be hanging out with all those churchgoers.
Not gonna
He's
be at
going
the
to be
main
hanging out
church.
more with us. So, because we're the marginalized community. So, of course, he's going to be hanging out with us. So, it's like, yeah, you might want to study the Bible a little bit more when people really get into that. But so, looking back, what do you wish someone had told you, though, about coming out? What do you wish someone had told you as a 27-year-old?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I'll connect it to what you just said, which was like, oh, it doesn't matter what he thought. Like, what matters is what I think. That was like not my perspective at the time. It was like my center was so far away from my own self. I
Mm-hmm.
now know this. I didn't know that at the time. So maybe somebody, and I know that people did, like I still have screenshots on my phone. I stumble upon it every once in a while. I remember talking with a friend. I could probably find it right now while we're talking, but it was like within the first year of me coming out and exploring some interests. And she was like, yeah, like that's our first rule in this new journey of yours, is to like stop kicking yourself, like stop judging yourself for like, not being perfect or not knowing everything. It's like, just let yourself be. So that's one thing, maybe just like knowing that I don't necessarily have to know everything, and I don't have to be like, I don't have to get everything right. But then probably more importantly, just that like, it's my job to know and communicate what I need, and to like value what I care about and what's important to me. Because if it's important to me, like it's my responsibility to like care for it,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody else is going to do that but me. So yeah, maybe just that encouragement to handle my own stuff and maybe not depend on other people, and not like, yeah, not lean on other people in a like a codependent kind of way.
And I do feel you made a good point, um, to not, it's hard because I think some of it is a growing process. And I think we learn a lot as we grow. And I feel that there are definitely some experiences of being even around people in our community that I was like, I don't, because when I was trying to figure myself out, I was like, well, I definitely know I'm not like them, and
Hmm.
I'm not like that person. And for me, because I grew up, I was an athlete. I was an athlete, but I was also like, I did like choir and I did musicals and stuff. So, but I was kind of, when I got done with high school, I was very burned out athletically from swimming, because I'd been swimming for over a decade, and I was exhausted. And it was so, but over the years, I haven't done it so much here since I moved to Colorado, but when I was in Kansas City before, I mean, I hung out with the rugby players, like the gay rugby players, and I was hanging out with the front runners, like Running Group, which is a gay organization that's been like worldwide organization that's been around forever. And it's like when you find those spots, for me, that's how I got to really learn more about myself. But that took time. And I think that it's hard. It's funny for me to look back because boy, did I try to like fit into a specific clique
Mm.
of people. I was like, oh, well, I better have this type of clothing. I better have this, this clone or this whatever. And I know as we're growing, as we age, it's a whole learning process, but it's kind of ridiculous when you look at it because I cannot believe I tried so hard to
Yeah.
be in some of these groups of people, and now I'm like, no, that would have never worked. I don't have the patience for that, especially now at this age. Like that's part of the reason why my close group of friends I have that we with this what we do and who we bring into our circle, like because we already know what we like and what we love to do. And even if it's something as simple as having a dinner at home and maybe watching a movie or playing a game, a card game or whatever, or a board game, that's what we'll do. I mean, it's just like plain simple. It doesn't have to, it's not like back when I was in my 20s and going to the bars all the time. And
Mhm.
it got to just be too much and too expensive. And I can't even imagine going out now because I
Right.
just remember how expensive it was back then. My goodness. But all right. So there are a lot of listeners that I have and that are navigating to the is it safe to be here question. As a Black gay man, how do you evaluate safety and decide how visible to be, especially in a state where you live in that is not very pro gay by any means?
Right. Yeah. When I think about, interestingly enough, I just like trust my intuition. I think like it goes back to when I was first coming out. Like I don't remember making any pros and cons lists or like writing down people's names. It was just kind of in the moment. Like I knew, like, oh, I can share this with this person, and
Hmm.
that was the first time that I had ever leaned on my intuition like that in a way that was like really important because yeah, I needed people to help me process what I was processing, but I needed to not there were certain things that I needed to not hear. And if I had talked to certain people, I would have heard those things, the stuff that would have brought me back to what had kept
Hmm.
me in that box. And it's just so interesting to me that like I feel like I was at like a 100% success rate of like I talked to the right people and I stayed away from the people that I should have stayed away from.
Nice.
And I feel like that applies now as well, like, because just when it comes to general, like, work settings, other life settings of like, oh, who can I kind of show my full self to versus who am I going to choose to maybe just be a little more guarded or maybe not demonstrate my full self because I know that could put me in a dangerous situation. I recognize that I do have a lot of privilege, just as like I'm a man and I'm like tall. So I think in terms of like physical, I'm like I've got like broad
Hmm.
shoulders and stuff. So I think in terms of like physical danger, there's a lot of things that so many people in the queer community like very real dangers that they need to be aware of, and that they may need to be more specific about like, oh, like I'm not going to go to that part of town or whatever. But yeah, like for me, it is the very personal side of things of just like, yeah, when am I gonna sort of let out 100% versus I'll keep it at 60% today because I'm going to choose to do that, not because it's like a default or because I think that
Hmm.
the other 40% doesn't deserve to get the shine or something, like I'm meeting new coworkers now. And it's so gratifying when you recognize like, oh, I think I can show them myself. And then you make a connection, you realize that like, well, you like found somebody who's also like silly and like, or who can talk about these kind of things at work. Not everybody will talk about like music or
Hmm.
sports or like whatever
Yeah.
the thing is. So yeah, kind of a trial and error maybe, but thankfully it's been a lot of success on that end.
That's good. Though, have you ever been surprised by an environment, either more supportive or less supportive than expected?
I mean, I was pretty blown away during my interview process for this current job because I had a lot of, what do I want to call it? I had a lot of baggage around like the academic setting as a student who I went to like a really big name school. I went to you can see the Stanford stuff back there. And I was like I was there, obviously like I earned getting there, but there's a gradient of, whether people were prepared for certain things or what their maturity was. And like I went to grad school to get a master's degree. And I had a lot of experiences that one could call failures in that, like just trying to do things and it not working out. Like a couple of professors like trying to do research with them and then it was like no, we're not going to continue. So that was rough. So applying for a job to be a faculty member dug up some of that stuff, and I remember feelings like it was like immediately I just felt like that small college student again in my interview. But then when I went in person and I met like our department chair for the first time, and he shared with me what his values were and like how he wants faculty to see students and connect with them and like recognizing the diversity in the student population and the various needs, because we have our student population at UCF is like pretty representative of like the city, the country, when it comes to like socioeconomics and like ethnicity and all that kind of stuff. So like seeing that he shared that value of like, oh yeah, like half of our students have a part-time job, so like think about that when you're giving them assignments. And because I think professors can be so like rigid and
Mhm.
not realize what the students are actually experiencing. So I was kind of ready to like be on guard and be this like warrior for the students, but recognizing that my department chair shared those same values and was really thinking about those things was really
Nice. All right. So you spent 8 years working at NASA and the Kennedy Space Center and then pivoted into full time education last year in 2025.
yes.
What did that pivot teach you about alignment and calling?
It taught me that it's worth it to um like just yeah, it's worth it to take the risk when you know that it's time to make the move. It's like when I tell you, I've had so many moments lately, even on the stressful weeks. I mean, people are probably tired of hearing me say this, but I keep on saying like, oh, 10 out of 10, like this was the right move. I feel so aligned. I'm spending my time doing what I should be doing. And it's such a good feeling. And it's so interesting to have this feeling after working for NASA because that was such a cool job. I loved it so
Hmm.
much. I connected with people so well. I got to do amazing things. I got to send stuff to Mars and Jupiter and like,
That's so cool.
yeah, I got all these posters and stuff. I have tattooed on my arm one of the satellites that I got to help send to my favorite planet.
Awesome.
It was already a really cool job, but then it was like, oh, I discovered over the years because I kept on like teaching on the side, like doing that as like a side gig. And I just remember always feeling like, man, like I wish I could do this with my regular reserve of energy, not having to pull after already working 40 hours in a week. And now that I'm doing that, it's just, I'm like seeing what I'm good at. I'm feeling it. I'm giving myself the space to like try things and then learn from it and be like, oh, like this lecture didn't go super well, but like this is what I think, I would change next time. So sort of having that long-term perspective because I know I want to do this for a while. It's just an incredible feeling. So yeah, I think it just maybe continuing the theme of trusting your intuition. It was like, yeah, I think it's time to do it. And then it just kind of all came together and now I'm doing it and I'm so glad that it's happening.
Awesome. So, how did authenticity show up differently, though, in your engineering roles versus your teaching?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I feel like they were very similar, especially because I'm teaching people to do a job pretty similar to like what I came from, but like
Hmm.
one informs the other a ton. Especially in the engineering world, your intuition is really important, and the not just your intuition, but your confidence in communication, your willingness to speak up if you think that something might be wrong, or just if you have a question and you don't understand, like say it, like raise your hand and ask the question, even in the meeting, even if there's people that you're like worried how they like see you or whatever. So being able to just kind of get over yourself and recognize that like what you're doing is about the work, not about somebody like evaluating whether you're smart enough or something. So So that's what the engineering stuff kind of taught me how to, like, I had to work through that to kind of get over myself for the sake of the job. And then now I'm able to, you know, encourage students to say, hey, like, if in the moment you don't get it, like, ask the question or like write it down and ask it later. Like, get to the point where you fully understand. Like, don't like just push through, because like there's a level of like masking in the student world where you're just kind of like fighting
Oh
through
yeah.
a class, getting the assignments done, and then you move on and it's like, well, did you learn anything? But I don't know. So yeah, getting them to really like value those moments for the sake of growth.
That's really good. It's funny. So I'm in the heart of choir season right now, a choir that I'm in. And one of the things I've loved about our new director started last fall, and so this is our second season with him. One of the things I love that he has said, and he has to continue saying because we keep adding members to our choir, new members, is that I'd rather, he's like, even if you don't know the part, sing it out loud. That's going to help me to make sure that you do it right and you eventually get it right. And I've never, ever in my entire time singing, ever had a director tell you sing and loud. Because my experience, I was never that confident when I was younger. If I wasn't confident in a piece of music and my part, I became very quiet, and I would be very hesitant to want to sing that out loud. But I love that he's like, hey, if you sing it out loud, then I know how to fix it. And then we can fix it and we can get it and move on. And I feel that you got to ask the questions, because if you're not learning or you just go through the motions, it's going to be a little bit harder to put it into practice, like for those students, especially when they get out in the real world.
Yeah, when I was in choir, we would say, be strong and wrong. Like, just do that, and then we'll figure it out.
So you had mentioned to me in stuff you had sent over, and we had chatted a little bit about, you mentioned coaches, mentors, and therapists helping you find new levels of authenticity. What did each one help you see or practice that you couldn't do alone yet?
Interesting. I think that all of those people helped me see what was going on in my head, like what sorts of voices were leading me, because sometimes you're just too close to the situation and you can't see it.
Yes.
So, but then if I'm talking to people, it was just so common for so many years where people would just be like, you're being so mean to yourself. And I'd be like, oh, I didn't realize that, because it was just this default track that I would always play. So
Yeah.
like my coach, for example, that was just a phenomenal experience. We only had like 6 or 7 sessions. It was this, like a formal coaching program through my old job. And like he helped me identify, yeah, some particularly like sabotaging voices, and he had a whole like practice of like identifying the judge and then naming the judge and then figuring out what that person is saying and then identifying like what situations it normally happens in, so I could see it when it's happening and then be like, oh, this is that happening again. Let me try to introduce something
Yeah.
different, and giving me some tools for yeah, just bringing more confident voices into my daily mental space. So that was really really helpful. And then same with my therapist for maybe outside of work things. Same, just kind of patterns. So having people who can kind of look from the outside and see patterns over time and see commonalities without judgment is really the important thing. Because yeah, it was just so easy to judge myself and be like, oh, like here I am doing this again, um, as opposed to somebody who can be like, oh, like, do you really feel that way about yourself? Or like, like just, so yeah, all just reframing the language is what was most important, I think.
Nice. I like that. And it is funny. I feel that we are our biggest judge to begin with. And so when we don't think we're doing something right or we're not confident enough to do it, it's kind of nice to have someone from the outside that can see it
Mhm.
and can be able to help you.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to coaches, but also shout out to to what I do. That's what I do. I help with confidence and purpose and helping people with their mindset, because you may not think you need it, but then when people see you, they go, okay, this
Mhm.
probably should change. Or, uh, so
Right. Yeah, we were. there's a big career fair coming up on campus. So I teach seniors, people who are going to be graduating soon. So they're all looking for jobs. So I was talking with a mentor of mine who works in like kind of career, not career services, but like she supports students like kind of in that transition towards looking for careers.
Mhm.
She said that, yeah, helping them develop confidence is like one of the biggest things because she's seen so many times of working with recruiters and being like, no, you should hire this student, and them saying, I'm not going to, because they were not confident, and so they're not going to believe that you're able to do all this stuff if you can't kind of show it to them. So
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but I'm seeing that a lot in some college students right now and
yeah.
some people who are just right out of college. And yeah, I and hire me. That's all I'm gonna say. I can help you anyway. But so what does good support look like and what does bad advice look like though when you're trying to be authentic?
I think I will speak to this by just explaining how I try to support people. So, I mean, my job now, it's a design class. So the students are working in teams to do these complex engineering design problems over the course of 2 semesters. So there could be some complex stuff. Students are like making these like cars and airplanes, like with flying things, um, and
Nice.
I meet with them every week to see how they're going. So I ask a lot of questions. I try to just bring curiosity to it. And like my aim is to sort of like pull out of them whatever they have and just kind of make sure it's on paper and like really have it come from them as opposed to coming in with an expectation of like giving them the answer. I think in
Mm-hmm.
time, I would love to be a lot to have more technical experience with these types of projects so I can also advise them and be like, "Ooh, you're planning on doing this. I've seen that fail 1,000 times, so like maybe you can do this." But I think what's most important, the way I want to support them is to maybe it's teach a person how to fish, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like getting them to practice doing it themselves. So I think when it comes to authenticity as well, like there's so many times, especially recently, where I've realized like, I'm kind of in those high stress moments or like I'm all in my feelings. And I'm like, tragically, I can't call somebody right now because I have to work through this myself because like the issue is that I need to bring the stability, like I need to bring I need to be my own sage. That was like part of the framework that my coach taught me in terms of like soothing those turbulent moments.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, it's great to have somebody external who can do that. But I think the people who supported me the most were the ones who just like were able to do that without like telling me, oh, you should be reacting in this way or you should be doing whatever. So like remember when I was having a lot of like issues just being an emotionally vulnerable person. And I would get really I would do the thing where I'm feeling bad about feeling bad. Like, you're like kind of beating yourself up for having feelings. I'm like crying in front of a friend, and she was like, "Well, it's okay to cry." And like that was so like different for me because I just didn't. I mean, it was years ago. Now I love it when I cry. It's like, okay, stuff has got to move. I'm glad that
Yeah.
it's moving. But it took time to learn that because there's so many parts of the world that tell us something different. That tell us that we have to not show up in that way. So yeah, just kind of giving permission to be authentic. I think is some of the best support.
Nice. I like that. All right. So if someone can't afford coaching or therapy right now, even though listeners, I can tell you, I actually do have affordable coaching programs and anyone can afford them. But what are our few supportive alternatives that can still help?
There's so many mindfulness practices that are just a part of living,
Hmm.
like learning those things. And thankfully, things like YouTube are available. So like people put this stuff out on the internet in a way that you don't have to pay for it. It's hard. It could maybe take some time to find ones that work really well for you. But yeah, so much of the depth of the work was just practicing it myself. So some of
Hmm.
it is like a yoga practice. That was really helpful for me for a time because it was like, all right, like move your body in this particular way, the flow, the slowness of it all, but also the challenge and the stretching and all that. That was really good. But then there's other mindfulness practices. There's breathing practices. So any of these like resources, just looking that kind of stuff up to nervous system regulation stuff. Maybe that's it. Like that's such a big thing. Knowing how to regulate your nervous system because an unregulated nervous system just throws us all into chaos. So yeah, any of those tools that it's just a matter of how you're talking to yourself or how you're breathing in a given moment and kind of helping yourself kind of get back to center. So yeah, practicing any of those things, and I think everything else kind of follows because you'll learn stuff like because that intuition is in you. It's there.
Yeah.
All those other people that you may end up paying to help, they're just helping that stuff come to light or come to the surface. So
Well, and I think just to kind of go back to, I mean, yes, there are so many free tools that you can use. And a lot of it, though, and I think this is what helps with having someone like having a coach or a therapist, whatever, is that they're going to push you to do it. And you just watching a video doesn't necessarily mean
right,
you're going to take the action to do it. So there are advantages of having someone to be able to help you
absolutely.
to kind of keep you on track and taking that action. Because as I have seen with clients in the past, as well, I have other coaching friends who have the same thing. If their clients aren't taking the action, you're probably not going to get the results you want. But the only person you can be mad at is yourself
Right.
because you didn't decide to take the action, especially when I have a friend she helps college students get internships and it's written into it. And I have it written into obviously to my contract as well, but it's written in that you need to take this action and just owed an FYI because typically mom or dad, like parents are probably paying or someone is paying, helping pay for the course. But she's like, they're going to get an email every single time after every single time we meet. So if you're not following through, they're going to definitely know you're not doing it because she'll send a summary. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, Philip wasn't doing this. He said he was going to do this. And then we came back this week and he didn't follow through with this. He is still lacking in this. And I mean, I think there's definitely an advantage of having a coach, but I understand money's tight with so many people right now.
Yeah.
And I get it. I 100% get it. It's why I actually personally just created like 2 digital courses back, that are like a tenth of the price of what I normally charge for a coaching program because they're people helping people with their purpose, finding their purpose and helping people get that confidence back. And they're very affordable. And listeners are, as of this record, when it'll go live, it is actually available. But it's because I want people to get the help and I want people to do it. Now there's opportunity obviously to hire me as a coach for, lengthier time period. But I think that when you have someone to be able to kind of push you a little bit, it's going to help you probably follow through. It's why through all of my years, I mean, like I mentioned, I was a swimmer. I had a coach, 2 main coaches. I had my high school coach and then a coach that I had from year round swimming, and both kicked my butt. And I got to where I was athletically and, for all my successes because of both of those coaches. Like I didn't just miraculously become a 4-year letterman. Like I had to work my tail off to get to that point. And going even to, like we just mentioned earlier, having choir, having a director that pushes you and challenges you and keeps you on point, I love it. And I think it's because now I love it because I had someone who mentioned we had a little dinner before rehearsal this past week and he goes, I like how he directs and how he pushes us. That's what keeps me coming back because I'm in other choirs and I don't have the other directors aren't like that.
Mm.
They don't really push us and challenge us. And I was like, yeah, it's taken a little bit of time for me to get a director like that, but and now I'm sold. I don't want him ever not to be our director. And we haven't even been through a full year with him. And I was like, yeah, please don't go away. Because he's the reason we've now doubled in
Oh, wow.
6 months. Like, so it's not just, oh, he's now our director. Like because he pushes us, people came to our concerts that hadn't been to us in years and were like, you aren't the same choir you were before. Like you guys sound amazing. And it's like, we can thank him. Like he's the reason
Awesome.
we're here. All right. So let's get practical. For someone listening who feels stuck and I don't want to hide, but I don't know how to show up. What are 2 to 3 skills that build authenticity over time?
That is a very good question. I would say one thing that you could do is look out for the times in life when you are showing up in a way that feels good. Like, look for those moments that feel natural, that feel easy, and start to write them down. A lot of this, I mean, if I really, really prepared for this podcast, I would have, for this conversation, I could have looked at my journal, because there were times like when I was making the decision on if I was going to do this. Because if you remember from the intro, I mean, I've made like 3 different job pivots in the last several years, and they were all super intentional, and they took a bunch of time to be like, is this what I want to do? And I had the data. So get the data, journal,
Yep.
anything that can help you like really know what's going on. That's a really good practice. What else for building? Yeah, I mean, finding people who can, yeah, because it wasn't just the data that I had, it was people telling me and reminding me, because like other people can see the way that you're moving. So yeah, find the people who know you the best, um, and maybe ask them like if you have genuine questions about like how you best show up, or like what kind of like vibe do you bring to the party, like what, because you can do that in like a really fun way that's very sort of gamified,
Yeah.
or in like a really like you're like, oh, I actually need your feedback on like kind of what energy do I bring, do you see it change, like what is that like? So doing that for yourself, asking other people to help you do that, those are the two that I can think of right now. Maybe something else will pop up, but that's what I have to start with.
No, that's good advice. Those are good skills, like to really have. Like, I like that you said like journaling, keeping a record of what the data, like to see how, because it's funny to see sometimes when you've journaled about stuff or however you might have even captured something on Facebook. And now you look about like 5 years later, like, when really I did that or I
Right.
was like this, really? Okay. That wasn't, I mean, in this case, that was not really very authentic. Why was I showing
Right.
this? Why was I, and then obviously I love reaching out to people. I've done that before. Like when I decided to be a coach, is like, should I reach out to numerous people? It's like, should I do this? Like, are you, is this really, I mean, I was like, I knew I wanted to do it, but like, what do you guys think about this? You've known me, like reaching out to my sister who, I mean, she's 2.5 years younger than me. Talk about someone who definitely knows me very well. And then like my best friend, we've known each other since we were 4. So it's like, what do you think about this? So yeah, I think those are, that's great. Those are great, um, skills
Good.
to like, those are great ideas because I think that those are two that are very strong that can help you a lot, and especially in authenticity.
Yeah, if I can
Um,
add one thing, coming at it with like a curiosity. Like I remember there was a time where like at first it was like I started going to therapy and I realized what all my problems are and I was trying to fix them. And then there was like the humbling moment where you realize that like you can't fix yourself, like, and maybe you realize that you are not something that needs to be fixed. So then just coming at yourself with some curiosity. So like when I mentioned the gamified stuff, there's so many apps that you can do to like sort of tabulate your days. So like I remember there was once where it was an
mhm.
entire year where I would mark like this is what I did today. So then I could go back and look by the month and be like, oh, I exercised versus I read versus, like I felt. You could also sort of put your mood. So like kind of the energy question that you asked at the beginning, like I could track that. And I just did that. That was in 2023. I'm not ever going to look at that data again, but that was kind of an interesting thing. So yeah, just kind of doing it for the sake of doing it, it starts to build up. So yeah.
All right. Well, we've been deep, we've been real, and now we're going to get into some mildly unhinged in the best way. It's the rapid fire time, and I laugh about this because it's quick answers only. And I laughed because the last guest that I had said, "Oh, I'm not very good at short answers, so we'll see how this goes." And I'm like, if you need to expand a little bit, it's fine, but I don't need a 5 minute answer to a question. So that's a whole point of rapid fire. But anyway, all right. Karaoke go to song. And be honest, is it a I can sing song or is it a I don't care, I'm free song?
It's so funny that you asked that because
Because I can see both, honestly, personally.
it actually just changed for me. Like I've been very like show tune energy for karaoke for several
Hmm.
years. So like my default answer always was "You're Welcome" from Moana. It's like perfectly in my range. I know it like the back of my
That's a
hand.
great song.
Oh, it's so much fun. But then I've been maybe kind of feeling my oats lately, so I'm feeling like I can sing better. So I just did Yellow by Coldplay at karaoke, and I think I did really well. It's like that's hard. That's a hard song. I sang it in the car today on the way home, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so pitchy. Like, it's not good." So I want that to be my like I can sing karaoke song, but yeah, it may take some time. It's so funny that
Awesome.
you asked that question today. Because literally I had that conversation with myself today.
Well, that's awesome. Okay. If your plants could review you on Yelp, what would they say?
They would say he is a bit chaotic, but consistent. He shows up when he needs to, and he listens when we yell at him. I got those plants that like droop
Oh, yeah, yeah,
when they need to be watered. So it's like I won't always get it right, but I'm watching enough to be able to right the ship when I need to, and I think they know that.
yeah. All right. Cat personality in one word, and who's really in charge at home?
Like you're asking about my cat.
Yeah.
You know, you said one word, but he's just the sweetest little boy. So I'll use sweet. And I mean, yeah, he's in charge. I realize it every night when I'm getting ready to go to bed, and then I choose to come in here and clear out this litter box, and I like put on a mask because it smells so bad, but it's like, well, I have to do this. So yeah, he's in charge. This is new for me. I've only had a pet for 2 months. So, I'm
Oh,
adjusting.
wow.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Acoustic guitar era. What's the dream? Campfire vibes, indie sad boy anthem, or full pop star moment?
That's so funny. Literally campfire vibes with some indie sad boy. I've been really into Noah Khan lately. I actually just got tickets to see him in Orlando in a few months.
Nice.
So that's so annoying because I hurt my finger. So this is the first week in months that I have not played the guitar like every day. But yeah, like I was learning how to play Strawberry Wine. I don't know if you know Noah Khan's music,
Hmm.
but it's just the
Yeah.
sweetest. Like yeah, like learning how to play that song on the guitar, and it was really nice. But yeah, I set a goal for New Year's of this coming year to play the guitar at the campfire because I have a sort of a campfire tradition with some friends on New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. It's funny because I actually had taught myself how to play the acoustic guitar
Awesome.
at one point. I had a friend of mine who had an extra guitar and I was like, and she goes, "Do you want it? I don't really have any use for it." I was like, "Sure." And so then I started and um it was kind of hard because I had taught myself how to play the piano. I had to do that back when I was in choir in high school,
Okay.
because we had so much music to learn, and I was like, this is not going to happen. And so I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit easier playing on a piano than having to like, because you can. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember seeing my friend's fingers the first time, and I was like, "Ooh, your fingers, that's raw." Like,
It's
and
a
she
hard
goes, "Yeah,
instrument to
that's
learn.
the."
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. I love the
So
acoustic
nice.
guitar sound.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
So
it's
nice.
yeah. All right. In the LGBTQ plus sports league, are you the competitive one, the hype one, or the I came for the friendships one?
Definitely the competitive one. I'm very loud on the field, but yeah, it's fun to win. I've been reflecting on this week. This week I've been reflecting on if I love to win more or if I hate to lose more. But yeah, I've been in the league for 7 years, so it's like normally like 3 seasons a year. So it's like I've been in like 20 seasons or so, if
Oh,
not more. And I just won my second medal. So yeah, I was thrilled. It was so much fun. Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm the same way. I'm very competitive.
yeah.
Oh goodness.
Better.
Yeah. So, all right. So if someone listening today feels like they're editing themselves to survive at work, what's one small action or in school or wherever, anywhere in their life really? What's one small action that they can take this week to reclaim a little bit more of who they are?
That is a really good question. If you're editing yourself, I would use the mirror technique. That's something that I do every once in a while
Mm.
when yeah, I think that's what I do when I feel stuck because it's like I'm trying to switch something in my brain and it's not happening. And it's like, I want to believe this and I just don't. So then I write it on the mirror and I repeat it often, repeat it when I'm brushing my teeth. So yeah, something that affirms whatever that part of you that you feel like you're editing, but that you want to bring or that, you love. You don't know if other people will. Just like celebrate that part of you and like give it some repetition because you've probably repeated the like anti-celebration like you've had a lot
Mhm.
of playtime with the criticism, so give some repetition to the celebration and maybe that'll help.
Awesome. I agree. That's great advice. All right. Well, Philip, this was such a grounding conversation because you didn't make authenticity sound like a brand. You made it sound like practice, like a practice, choosing yourself, returning to yourself, and building the support systems to keep doing it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. This was great.
And for everyone listening, if today's episode hit home, of course, like I say always, share it with a friend who's been shrinking to survive and remind them that they don't have to earn the right to be themselves. And if you're ready to do the deeper work of purpose, confidence, and showing up fully at work, you already know where to find me. Check the show notes for ways to connect. And if you want to support navigating your next steps with clarity, book a free call. Phillip, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing what authenticity can look like in real life. And yes, thank you again. And everyone, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And of course, be empowered and be out. And I will see you next time.